How do you manage a difficult boss? Over the years, I have worked for quite a few different people. I've worked for a boss that was quite small and constantly looking for a fight. I have worked for a very tall boss who was incredibly physically intimidating. Not that I think they knew that. I have worked for a people-pleasing boss. Oh my goodness, it was like trying to work for a cloud. It was fluffy. It was difficult to establish what was good, what was bad. It was just a really unpleasant feeling, possibly the worst. I've worked for a slightly sleazy boss. I have worked for a boss who managed to say the wrong thing. I mean, just so many times. It was a walking disaster. We spend a lot of time with our bosses, possibly more time than we spend with our family and friends, depending on what your work-life balance is like and what your days are like. It's ever so easy to feel like these people have control over our lives and our careers. Often when I start working with my leadership clients, one of the things they'll say is, and maybe not in these words, but they'll feel like their agency has been taken away, that there is nothing that they can do to change the way that they work, to change their working environment, to change their working life, to get promoted. And so they kind of feel like they have to suffer it and hope that the boss gets a promotion or hope that they get a promotion so that they can kind of part ways. And it's a really unpleasant and unfulfilling way to live your career. One of the things that you can do is really upskill when it comes to communication, right? When you've got a difficult boss, it's very, very unlikely, and this might feel like a real paradigm shift here. It is very unlikely that they are behaving the way they do simply to annoy you. Their behavior makes complete sense to them. Their ideas of how the world works makes complete sense to them. And so those two things fit together. They communicate in the way that they see the world, just like yours. You have a way of looking at the world. You have a communication style that makes sense to you. And so you behave in that way because it makes sense. What happens is when we get these, what we would consider to be difficult bosses, is that you have different paradigms about how the world works, how you fit in the world, and how those things interact. So if we can up-level our communication approach, our communication strategies with those difficult bosses, and I would caveat here, right? There aren't difficult people in the world. There are people we experience as difficult, for certain. Absolutely, 100%. There are people I experience as difficult in this world. They are not difficult people. We just communicate in a very different way. We see the world in a very different way. So if we can up-level our communication approach, the chances are those difficulties that we're experiencing start to filter away. So the very first thing that we can do to manage working with what we consider to be a difficult boss is understand their perspective, strategically and personally. So really begin to understand, what are they strategically trying to achieve here? What are they personally trying to achieve here? Then we align. So when we need to communicate something, we're thinking about how it aligns with their needs, their strategic needs, first of all, their personal needs. And so we're making sure that when we're communicating something, we are communicating in line with what it is that they are trying to achieve. It has to be our starting point. Where are they? Where are they trying to get to? How does this thing that I need to tell them about fit into that? Because when we do, it will feel like, to them, we are more on their side. We are strategically aligned with what they're saying. And that is even true when we disagree strategically. When we disagree strategically, we have to say we have to think about, am I in line with this mission? Yes, because if you're not in line with the mission, you're in the wrong company. Am I in line with the mission? Yes. Do I agree with the strategy of how we get there? No. Okay. So then we align by saying, I'm on board with the mission. I think strategically, this might be a better option for us. So can you see how that is a different from like, no, that's the wrong option. We shouldn't be doing this. So when we strategically align with where our boss is trying to get to, our communication becomes a much clearer for them. We also need to make sure that we are giving them insight, not information. right? So it's ever so easy. Sometimes we have a difficult boss. We feel like we have to justify why we're there. We have to justify our conversation. We have to justify because perhaps they've been someone who will nitpick and pull things apart. So there are ways that we can improve our communication to make sure that we are giving them insight, not information. Be concise. Don't waffle. Don't bury the lead. Really, really tempting to kind of put the ta-da towards the end. We never want to be doing that. If you think about a newspaper, we have the headline, we have the subheadline, and then we have the first paragraph. Generally, if you read those three things, you know exactly what the article is about. You don't need to read any further. So we need to be making sure that our communication is structured in that way. Headline, subheadline, paragraph, right? That's all they need to know. Make your requests clear and overt. So if you need something, you want something, make it very clear from the start. I want to talk to you about how we can increase the budget on X in order that we can do Y. Really nice and clear. Now that I've said be prepared, be concise, don't waffle, don't bury the lead, also be prepared to go deeper. So keep your initial content, your initial communication short, sharp, clear, but be prepared to have more data, more details, be able to have a longer, more in-depth conversation should they want to. But don't begin there. Many people make that option. Have options, right? Have multiple options. So if you want to get to A, there's 3 or 4 roads you could use to get there, right? Your boss thinks you should take road B, you think you should take road A, but also make sure you've got road C and D as well. So what are the options? It could be to do with timings, it could be to do with budget, it could be to do with resources in terms of people. What are all the ways that you could get there? So be prepared to be flexible on how you get to this particular goal. Be prepared to let things go. So what don't you need? What could you negotiate around? What could you let go? And what is non-negotiable for you? But be prepared to be flexible, not to win the conversation. The idea here is not to win the conversation, is to come to the best outcome possible. This next one is really, really important. And I had a perfect example of this recently. So a client came to me. We spent some time preparing a difficult conversation she was going to have with a very difficult boss. We went through this whole process and she did it, and she emailed me immediately afterwards going, great content, terrible timing. And she realized that the timing was off. So choose your moment. Choose your moment and choose your mode. We all have a preferred mode of communication. I like it when people come and talk to me. I don't enjoy great long emails. So come and talk to me if there's something we need to get sorted out. Other people prefer to read an email, absorb all the data, then have a conversation about it. Some people might want a voice note or a telephone call. Think about the mode and the moment of having that conversation with this boss that you're experiencing as difficult. So, in essence, understand their perspective. Make sure you understand them strategically and personally, and align your communication with where they're trying to get to. Give them insight, not information. They have access to lots of information. Give them insight. What's important about this? What do they need to understand? What do they think they understand that they have actually misunderstood? Have options. Be prepared to be flexible. Choose your mode and choose your moment. So how does this person need to receive this information or this insight that I'm going to give them? And then it's a case of take action. Do it. Reflect on what happened, learn, and go again. It's all just information. You're not going to get it right the first time. They're human beings. They're changeable. They're adaptable. Keep doing it. It's all just information. Don't ever let it become a narrative about you or your ability to make an impact. It is nothing to do with any of those things. So I would love to hear how you've applied this information and whether you are finding it easier to communicate with that difficult boss. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.